This time next week, there's going to be a giant empty void in our lives with international rugby going off the radar again. So let's enjoy this while it's here. And team of the week for round 4 of the Six Nations. And I have a 23-man squad because rugby is, after all, a 23-man game these days. So who wore their jersey best out of all of the players that represented their nation over this last weekend? These are my thoughts. I would love to know yours. It would be a miracle if we agreed on every selection. And that's where the fun is. It's an opinions game after all. So let me know yours in the comments down below. And let's start with the number 1 jersey, which I have handed to Jean-Baptiste Ross. Not for the first time in this Six Nations Championship. This guy's been an absolute beast. I mean, the balance with Cyril Baille having been out for so long injured for France, Cyril Baille was the guy that, had a decent set piece, was amazing around the park. And Jean-Baptiste Gross was apparently the guy that was a little bit more solid set piece wise, and he's definitely been that. But he's got some skills. That offload, no look offload out the back to Maxime Lucu ahead of the Paul Boudehont try was awesome. I thought Pierre Schumann was excellent as well, just worthy of note. And I'll obviously I've got a bench to select from, so we'll see if he makes the bench. And number 2 jersey, I went for Dan Sheehan. I rewatched the Ireland against France game, and I was struck by there was quite a few Irish players that were below par. Dan Sheehan is one of those guys who I actually think stood out ahead of his opposite number, and Piato Malvaca was really, really good as well. It was an onslaught from France onto Ireland, but Dan Sheehan was one of those guys that brought that physical edge. The set piece was pretty decent for Ireland. He was great around the park. And I'd say Jamie George, Piato Malvaca were both very good as well. On the tight head prop side, 3 positions, 3 different nations represented. Will Stewart, really decent scrum, limiting opportunities against Italy, but he has quietly just been getting better and better and better. And England's scrum was an Achilles heel. Think back to the World Cup semi-final, to the World Cup final 5 years ago, and it's been a consistent problem. England getting pinned at scrum time, not anymore. And Will Stewart deserves to be in the team of the week for that bit of footwork all on its own. Prop idol right there. Will Stewart is playing himself onto the plane to Australia with the British and Irish Lions. And even more than that, with every game that goes by, potentially playing himself into a starting Test jersey. He is at that sort of a level. Xander Fagerson, though, was very good for Scotland too. Tyg Furlong will be very frustrated having to watch from the sidelines. Into the second row then, and Thibaut Flamand for France. He's shown in the last couple of games what they were missing when they were without Thibaut Flamand. He just kind of glues that whole pack together. Brilliant set-piece operator. But I tell you what, he put some mega shots in defensively. I thought in the second row, Emmanuel Meafu was excellent. Maro Itoje as well. But the guy that's alongside Flamand in the engine room was the man of the match in the England game, Ollie Chesham. Again, he's been reminding England fans what they were missing when they didn't have him. Line-out king, and England's maul and line-out is where their main launch play is. And Ollie Chesham has just solidified that whole area. But he's really busy around the park. And he just has these bright red cheeks after about 10 minutes into a game. But that's because he's working his socks off. Loads of carries, loads of tackles. He's really, really good. And with Tom Curry, they were, for me, England's 2 best players. And Tom Curry, if you were picking a player of the tournament right now on a shortlist, maybe even getting it, would be Tom Curry, who has been absolutely sensational. And to think there were England fans back in the autumn saying Tom Curry shouldn't play for England anymore. He's back to his very best. It's like 2019 Tom Curry, and he's still only 26 years of age. He's got a lot of rugby still to play. Although that said, every single game he seems to look like he's a broken man at some point in the game. But that is just the absolute sheer effort that he puts into it. And I thought his brother as well off the bench was superb as well. Tom Curry's work rate is off the charts. Now, for the other flank position, there was so many brilliant contenders. Who would you go with? Let me know, as I say, in the comments down below. And if you're still watching, I really appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up. It takes you no time, but it helps. It's just me, and I want to reach as many rugby fans as I can. So just doing that would really help. Other contenders for the other flank position. Jack Morgan was fantastic for Wales. Jamie Ritchie, the last 2 games, has been amazing. Francois Cross for France, and his flank partner, Paul Boudehont. The pair of them. And I have picked one of those 4 players. I do have spots on the bench, don't forget. So I'll come back, circle back on some of those. But I went for, and albeit not the number jersey he wears in the match. But I went on the other flank, Francois Cross. Do you know what? I think Cross will be one of those players who is, if you ask the France team, who's your best player or who's your favourite player, I reckon more of them than you would think would probably say Cross, because he's one of those guys. Every team needs someone that the teammates recognise what he does, but quite often a lot of what that player does goes under the radar and unseen. That French win over Ireland was based on a massive defensive performance, and Cross was huge in defence for France. There seemed to be like two of him on the pitch. He was just taking names in defence, whacking people, big shots all over the shop, massive turnovers. And on the flip side, France's ball was much quicker, and Van der Fleer and Doris and Tadhg Beirne and Dan Sheehan weren't able to quite have the influence on the breakdown that they would have wanted. And a big part of that is that Francois Cross was just going around tidying things up. So I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Paul Boudehont was probably a better attacking force, but since France won it on their defence, I went for Cross. And to complete the back row, my number 8, Taulupe Faletau. For a second week in a row, Faletau is in the team of the week. And again, another player reminding everyone of just what he has missed. It was vintage Faletau once again. He's pouring absolutely everything into that Welsh jersey in this match and last week as well. And you could see that from when that try, I wish it had been allowed. It was such a good bit of skill and athleticism from Blair Murray, but disallowed for him hurdling a tackle. But Faletau looked absolutely battered after that. Didn't even have the energy to celebrate what he thought was a try. He is playing himself potentially onto a 4th British and Irish Lions tour, which would be remarkable. There is the pack. Any thoughts? I have got a bench to select, don't forget. I've also got my best 3 players overall to pick at the end of the video, which I'll get to. But into the back line, and I can't imagine there's any disagreement with Maxime Lucu at scrum half. He had the toughest jobs coming on against favourites for the tournament on home soil, not expecting to come onto the pitch. But Antoine Dupont's injury meant he came on, and his defence was massive. His kicking was masterful. His distribution was superb, crisp, quick pass. And he just did the simple things well. And whilst France probably overall lose a little something by not having Dupont, actually you saw Lucu facilitate other players filling that void. And I think it was not a surprise that with Lucu there, you saw more of some other players around. He brings people into the game brilliantly. So Lucu is my 9. And at halfback, it could have been Ntamak as the fly half, who I thought was really, really good. I thought Finn Smith for England was excellent. But it was the other Finn, Russell, who took it for me in the team of the week. Just making very, very difficult things look really effortless. The way he stepped inside and did that little lift for Darcy Graham's try, just beautiful. And it was very noticeable that Scotland suddenly lost a load of cohesion and didn't look as tight a unit when Finn Russell left the field, and they were obviously wrapping him in cotton wool for the France game next week, which is going to be massive. And if Scotland are going to pull anything off, that man will be the reason why. I thought he was really, really excellent. Into the centres then. And Yoram Moefana, take a bow. What a performance. Opposite Bundyaki, and Bundyaki was relatively anonymous, and Yoram Moefana was the one that was setting the target with his ball carries, was putting in huge shots in defence. He was absolutely everywhere. Lovely little offloads. And I didn't realise just how good he was. I've always thought Moefana, yeah, maybe he's just there till Fiku, and maybe they need to find a long-term. He's only 24, 25 years old. He feels like he's been around for a while now. He's got 40-odd caps to his name, and he is becoming more and more influential in this French team. Really, really big performance. I thought Tom Jordan was really good as well. I thought Tommaso Menoncello was excellent, but it was Menoncello's partner in the centre that takes my 13 jersey. And I have to have a picture of them both because they come as a pair, Brex and Cello. But Juan Ignacio Brex was excellent for Italy, and there is an Italian representative in the team, just big in attack and defence, and just one of those players who his Italian teammates are not playing up to the level that Brex and Menoncello as a pair are bringing. Onto the wings, Louis Beorbiere, Le Bip Bip is he the best player in the world right like best form player in the Six Nations anyway. The rest of the world hasn't had a chance to play because it's only the Six Nations that are on. So let me say in the North, is he the best player at the minute? If you were picking a player of the tournament right now, I think it's between the Beep Beep and Tom Curry. I think the two of them have been the best two players, and you probably have to go for this guy. His try scoring record is insane. His pace is outrageous. That try he scored, the little kick pass, he's got all of the skills. Actually, I heard an interview with him saying on the kick pass, he actually meant to put the kick further forward because if you remember, Penno had to go back to catch it, and he said it's lucky that I miskicked it because he didn't spot that Calvin Nash was there, or Keenan, or one of the Irish players was there waiting and might have actually intercepted it. So sometimes mistakes work out for the best, but it seems like everything the Beep Beep does is just turning to gold, and he's only 21 years of age. On the basis of the rugby we've seen so far, which is only the Six Nations, he will be a contender for World Player of the Year. And I mean, it might even be worth a cheeky bet to bet on him actually getting it because he looks in outrageous form. And I've put Damian Penno in my team of the week alongside him. Darcy Graham was really good. Ollie Slightholme was very good. But Damian Penno, when the game cuts loose, I mean, to set up that, the work Penno did to set up that Le Beep Beep try was just chef's kiss. Taking the ball, he came off his own wing, took the ball on the right-hand side, basically ran it himself all the way across the Irish defence, took all of the Irish defence out and put Le Beep Beep in. As a pair, they are phenomenal. And to complete the 15, Blair Kinghorn was superb. We've had two Bordeaux players on the wings. You've got a Stade Toulousain player completing the back three. And he has got so much better since he's gone to France and looks, I'm going to say the words, world class. The battle between him and Hugo Keenan for the British and Irish Lions 15 jersey is going to be fierce. I think at this moment in time, he's so good, I might be tempted to pick them both and put Blair Kinghorn on the right wing. As for the bench, because rugby is a 23-man game these days, isn't it? Jamie George, on his 100th appearance, put in a great performance. England's line-out has been brilliant. His set-piece, scrum, maul, line-out is brilliant. And that lovely offload for Ollie Slightholme's try. George is in. Pierre Schoeman was a menace around the park, putting in big carries, big tackles. Scrum was decent. And Xander Fagerson, exactly the same. Those two Scottish props, huge work rate. They're both in. Second row replacement. I could have gone for Maro Itoje, who I thought was very, very good. I went for Emmanuel Meafu, who in half an hour, that performance from France between 45 and 60 minutes, a massive part of that was the impact of this guy, Meafu. So he was on the bench and he gets onto my bench in this team of the week. And so does Paul Boudehon, who was magic again. Another one of those players, I'd say Moefana and Boudehon, two players who were kind of on the fringes, getting some game time, but are now established as rock solid first choices for France based on their performance in this Six Nations. Jack Morgan has to get into the 23. Unlucky not to get into the starting lineup. Just all heart, all action, and his work rate, just like Tom Curry, who just pipped him to the starting spot, off the charts. And the final two spots, as you'll notice, I went for a 6-2 split. Well, there was a 7-1 split. There was 6-2. 5-3 seems to be the rarity these days. I went for Antoine Dupont, who I thought in the half an hour he was on was magic. Just did some awesome things. Defensively was huge and set up BL Biarré. It could have been Mitchell, could have been Ben White. They were both good. I just thought the two French scrum halves that were on display were both brilliant. And Tom Jordan to finish it off. Utility player. He can play 10. He can play 12, which he did very well. And he made you forget that they were missing Sione Tuipulotu. That's the highest praise you can give to Tom Jordan. And he also can slot in at fullback as well. So a perfect number 23. Could he be a British and Irish Lions player? With Ollie Lawrence being injured, maybe Andy Farrell will be looking at one of the spots for centre as a utility player, and it could be someone like Elliot Daly or maybe Tom Jordan that gets himself on the plane. Tom Jordan's doing everything he can in this Six Nations tournament. He's been great. As for the top three players overall, really, really tough. I went for, well, firstly, that is the team. As you can see, there are 7 Frenchmen in the starting lineup and 3 more on the bench. So 10 French players in the 23. I think that just reflects it was a record ever high score against Ireland on Irish soil. And this is an Irish team that are very, very good. So for France to do that was pretty remarkable. So I think 10 players in the 23 is understandable. Just the one Irishman, Dan Sheehan, 3 Englishmen in the pack, and 1 more on the bench. That probably tells the story. England's pack is looking good, and a lot of those back players were not far off. Finn Smith not far behind Finn Russell. Ollie Slightholme not far behind the French wingers. And Elliot Daly was decent as well. Marcus Smith was even quite good. A couple of Welshmen, Faletau and Morgan, kind of dragging that team through on their own at the weekend. And 2 Scots in the back line, 2 playmakers, and another one on the bench. Well, another 3 Scotsmen on the bench. That's my thoughts. Like I say, be almost remarkable if we agreed. So let me know, speak up for who you would pick and my top 3 players overall. Number 3, Blair Kinghorn. Rangy running, brilliant attacker, rock solid under the high ball, great kicker. He's got it all. Number 2, Yoram Moefana was a beast, an absolute beast. And to make Bundy Aki look anonymous, that takes some doing. And number 1, Le Beep Beep, my player of the week. Yeah, what an amazing performance from France. So makes sense that they've got 2 players in the best 3 players of the weekend. In my humble opinion, I want to know yours. Let me know.